So, hi guys, I'm here with Mark Boyd. Now, Mark is the co-owner of World's Ultimate Strongman. So, Mark, great to have you here. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me, mate.
Yeah, welcome. Now, look, I want to ask you about how World's Ultimate Strongman came about, some plans for the future, things like that. But first of all, I want to get to the upcoming competition because that's what all the talk is about at the moment. And this is my 21st year of going to major strongman competitions. And I can honestly say I'm looking forward as much to going to this one as any I've ever been to before. So yeah, it's exciting stuff. So first of all, it was planned, most people thought, to be in Las Vegas. Is that correct? And is it not there, I'm assuming, probably more to do with the boxing than the strongman side of things?
Yeah, the whole Las Vegas thing. Don's mentioned it before. The boxing commission. We basically had a few problems with how we were going to run things, and we wanted to attach the strongman to get maximum eyes on to the boxing as well. And it was very fitting that we put it on the same weekend. So that's kind of why it's not in Vegas. Moved to Jacksonville alongside the boxing.
Yeah, I mean, the great thing is you managed to keep it in America, which a lot of people were hoping to see WUS move over outside of kind of the Middle East sometimes. So you've managed to do that.
That's the plan. And maybe the UK as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, maybe the UK. But we'll keep that quiet, Matt. We'll keep that quiet.
Okay. And a lot of excitement too about who's competing. Probably most of all, Big Z and Mateus. I think nobody expected to see either of those guys. So starting with Mateus, did he contact you and say he thinks he's ready, or did you just try on the off chance?
Mateus has been on us for a while. He's keen to get back. Let's say he just said, "Guys, I'm ready," and he's coming back with a vengeance. I know he's been training hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't doubt it. Have you any idea where his training's at? Because online we see he does a lot of sort of cardio work, but a lot of people questioning, has he got his pressing strength? What sort of condition is he going to bring? Any ideas, or is it going to be a surprise?
Honestly, it's going to be a big surprise.
Okay.
It'll be a big surprise, yeah.
And then you had another problem because your head referee, Big Z, has decided to go back to being a strongman again. So again, he just said to you, look, I'm coming back, and can I make my return at WUS?
I think it was a combination of him being in the States already, competing at Shaw Classic. He's going to be peaked, and he basically said, look, I'm ready to sort of give the guys a run for their money. So an honorary invite as a big legend in the sport. Obviously, we love Big Z to bits. He's part of our team. And yeah, we thought we'd bring him in.
He's not there to make up the numbers, is he? We're seeing what he's lifting again. He's going to be a genuine threat, I think.
No, for sure. The guys should be put on their toes, for sure.
Yeah. And one of the big talking points always with your events is the mystery event. Now, where did that idea come from? You just wanted to create something that creates a bit of a talking point, or it was more about the strongmen not being able to absolutely prepare for one event, which is maybe part of strongman, being able to adapt to many different events? Is that the kind of thought process behind it?
Yeah, it's a bit of a combination of both, and adding that sort of entertainment element, and sort of bringing out a bit more sort of on the spot thinking from the athletes. We saw it with the flag hoist in Bahrain, where I gave them the rules, and you had the likes of Novikov stepping up and jumping as high as you can, like you're seeing some wild techniques, but they end up paying off. So it's to add that bit of spontaneity into the sort of lifting, and the guys doing things that they don't normally do.
How are you getting your inspiration for those events? Because you said like the flag hoist, it's a bit of a throwback maybe to old school strongman. Is that kind of in your mind when you do these mystery events?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think strongman through the years has moved on to standardized events. You've got other shows that just do the same events each event, and for the diehard strongman fans, it's not, and normal fans, it's not that entertainment when you're doing the same thing like axle, deadlift, and so trying to sort of mix it up a bit, keep it fresh, and keep the athletes sort of on their toes with training. They're always mixing up their training. So
yeah, I totally agree. I think it would kill strongman if it's all too standardized. Popularity came from seeing people lift crazy, awkward things and things people could relate to, not just kilograms or pounds that your average person can't necessarily.
Exactly. It keeps that the feats of strength as a spectator sport. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And this year, you're going to have the women's open class and the 105s all on the 17th, all on the same day, right?
Yeah, so what we're doing is, and it's still to be confirmed with the 105s in terms of what date, but on the 17th, we're going to have the females up first, followed by the males. And then the under 105 will potentially be the day before as a sort of showpiece.
Okay.
We're looking
and
at
this
doing
105 is the strong circuit, yeah?
Yeah.
Which is, of course, caused a bit of, well, let's say controversy online.
Yeah.
People referencing CrossFit, which of course came 25 years later than Strongman, these medleys. But I mean, in my opinion, if you just look at the weights, how heavy they are, it's nowhere near CrossFit, is it? It's still a serious strength test. But
there's a bit of a backstory with the whole strong circuit thing. Basically, what I'm trying to create, obviously, it's still strongman. It's a bit of a sort of, let's say, more entertainment based. It's having them do this head to head, and this be something that's sort of a standardized version of strongman that can be attached onto shows.
Yeah.
But at a very base level, this is something that I've put together as part of the Strong franchise. So general population can do the same circuit at a base level. So instead of working with the 160 kilo Atlas stone, they're working with a 30 kilo Atlas stone. So it's to try and sort of essentially to make a show out of it, an entertainment piece that general population can relate to and say, oh, I was doing the strong circuit at the weekend. And like, obviously we're getting the sort of 105 guys to do it. This is obviously the first time it's happening. It's going to be a true battle of strength and fitness. So I think it's going to be entertaining, to be honest.
Yeah, and what I would say is the established 105 strongmen seem to be very positive about this as well. It actually seems to be people that aren't involved in it that had something to say, but in actual fact, the actual strongmen themselves understand this is something that could help, again, increase the profile of their sport, which many other people have tried to do and failed at. And you guys are already creating conversation, talk about it, which is exactly what they need, isn't it?
It's a bit of that sort of gladiator theme to it, you know, rather than it being dead set on, oh, this. It's going to be...
Totally. And also with the way that you've got this event in Florida, I guess this is going to be the biggest crowd you've ever had at one of your events, yeah?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, the fan base in the Middle East, I kid you not, maybe 4 years ago, the only thing in the Middle East that was strongman was one Atlas stone that I had that was made from concrete being buried in the sand and set for like 5 days. And obviously throughout those years, the sport has grown massively just in the region. So it's going to be great for us to go over to, let's say, the home of strongman in the US and obviously the UK at some point, and pull in a good sort of attendance locally. So that we're really looking forward to that. It's going to sort of change the vibe of World's Ultimate Strongman as well.
And do you now know who your head referee is going to be, or is it going to be you now that Big Z is competing?
So normally it's normally me on the day as the head referee, and I have Z, and last time it was Terry Hollins. Time before that was Magnus. We've yet to confirm it. We've got two of the guys who aren't competing but will be there. We've got Martins, who potentially will step up to the plate. and do the refereeing.
Okay.
But still to confirm. Yeah.
And you've got Big Loz joined by Rob Kearney this time on commentary, yeah?
Yeah. Big Laws and Rob Kearney on the commentary.
So really, for the people going and the people watching, there's so many strongmen that are either competing or involved in some way.
Yeah. We've got the full list there that are all coming. Obviously, we're working around the whole visa situation, going to the US from Europe. So we've got a few tricks up our sleeve where we're bringing guys out to Dubai, having them do like a sort of camp, a strength camp, and then bringing them over to the US.
Okay.
So we're working around it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And about the criteria for people to be invited to World's Ultimate Strongman, can you just walk us through that, the ways in which people qualify? Because there's a lot of people asking, well, how is this person?
So the whole idea of it was not to create more competitions that athletes had to go through to reach our show. We've just basically blanketed it, like a full blanket over all the competitions, the Arnold's, Giants, Official Strongman, World's Strongest Man. We'll be at the top of the pyramid. These guys underneath it. If you've came, I can send over all the sort of top 3, top 10 positions in those competitions. You'll be invited to World's Ultimate Strongman. So rather than us creating our own, obviously we've created one in the Middle East because there is no competitions, but essentially across the board, if you've won, came top 5, top 3, top 10, you're invited to World's Ultimate.
So if you've done very well in one of the other major promotions, that would get you an invite to World's Ultimate Strongman. And what you're also doing now is holding a qualifier, which is open to international athletes, which would be another opportunity, because obviously one major issue in strongman is there's some brilliant strongman out there that have never been given their fair opportunity at these big events. And we saw you guys did that in Bahrain, and look how well those guys did. You know, they came right up near the top, and it's proven. So now at least those people that didn't have a chance before, for whatever reason, whether it was political or whatever, didn't get invites to these others, they will now have a chance through what you're doing, which is, I think, a massive step forward. And I think we're going to see a few people that people have wanted to see competing at the top level finally do that.
No, for sure. And I know the country you're referring to is Iran, but the guys over there in Iran, monsters, absolute monsters. And it's a sort of honor to have them over and doing our competitions in Dubai, because these guys, they work hard. Like they proper put, like, it's their life, and for them not to be able to showcase it is a bit of a shame. And other promoters have sort of shied away from it. So,
well, the fact they did so well in their first major event tells you how good they are, because most of the top guys we know today never did that well in their first major competition. Exactly. It says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I'm sure, like, that being their first time on that sort of stage, they felt the pressures as well. But no, they did well.
So this event on September the 17th, your event in Bahrain was the first time a major strongman has ever been live streamed. Is that going to be the same again for this one in Florida?
Same again. Going forward, it'll be live streamed on Rogue, on Core Sports, and it will also be live on ESPN again.
Okay, and that Rogue live stream is via YouTube, yeah? People
via YouTube, So going
super
forward,
easy, no sign up, any of that
no
type of thing.
Exactly. So it's trying to get more eyes on. Obviously, we know the score with other entities, and putting it on 6 months later, our aim is to get it out straight away.
Just what the fans are crying out for. So
exactly.
And what's the prize pot for this competition?
So the prize pot for the men's is going to remain the same as it has done previously. So it's not changing. We've sort of set that marker. We're keeping it the same. Obviously, if anyone wants to up their game, we'll up it as well. And the female prize pot is actually going to be the biggest female prize pot that's ever been. Yeah.
And just a question on that. You guys kind of came out of the blue obviously based kind of out in Dubai, and people were sort of unsure who you were. Even some of the strongmen were unsure of who you guys were, if it was going to be genuine, because there's been a lot of cases in the past where athletes didn't get paid and things. You guys were offering the biggest payday out there, and sure enough, you've delivered every time on time. Can I ask just about the kind of basic finances, how this is funded? There's a lot of talk, maybe it's, you know, funded by Arabs that nobody knows, or is there a money being put in now which is going to run out after another year? Just slightly on the, obviously maybe there's things you can and can't say, but the overall kind of funding of this, how does that work?
The whole thing has been done by me and Don. Funding, all the grafting, it's all me and Don. We sort of, let's say, put ourselves on the line, and it's managed to pay off. And yeah, going forward, we're still going to be smashing out the shows, the events.
So it's not a case of you kind of, you know, you've been helped with a huge prize pot at the moment, but anytime it could run out, you've got an actual structure there where this is a long run thing. Long term.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I think that's what's everyone's, I think, major worry is you guys have come along, you've pushed the bar right up, but everyone wants you to stick around. I guess the older ones of us remember like IFSA and things like that came along, and the athletes, which was great for everyone. Finally, the guys can make a living out of one competition throughout a year. And I think we're all just hoping it's actually going to stay.
No, that's it. And if you look back, and it's been quite exponential in terms of our growth. So, and it's kind of led it from obviously the strongman, and now we're going into the females, the under 105s, the boxing, sort of, it's all tied in. So we're pushing up, and it's going up.
And even the arm wrestling that was done by Core Sports, it all draws into one thing, doesn't it?
Exactly. So that's the aim, is to sort of be at the top of the masters of the strength sports.
I heard a whisper actually that Devin Larratt, Michael Todd, some of those guys might make an appearance in Florida. Is there any truth in that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they'll be there. They'll be there.
So this really is a kind of festival for people going, of the elite of strength sports. Chance for people to see these people.
There's going to be tons of athletes, especially in the strength sports and even combat sports. There's going to be a lot of guys down there for sure.
Yeah, it's very cool. Yeah, and moving on to that, so the day after the World's Ultimate Strongman, September the 18th, we have the boxing. Now, of course, it was to be Eddie versus Thor. Now, we all know that Eddie has just torn his bicep off. Of course, there's huge talk of who the opponent might be. A lot of rumors about Mariusz Pudzianowski coming back. We're still waiting to see. I know nothing's done on that. A lot of famous people have thrown their hat in the ring, I think, haven't they? Up for doing that. I just wanted to ask on the Eddie Thor situation initially, can you tell us how that came about in the first place? No one really understands where this idea came from, who suggested it. You know, some people say Thor was pressured into it from Strongman. Other people say, you know, Eddie just managed to create this huge hype which forced him into it. Was it you guys had an idea? What was that?
Look, it was a combination. Obviously, the feud between Eddie and Thor is very, very real.
It's genuine, yeah.
It's very genuine. And myself and Don always have a laugh to ourselves because we're stuck between it. And we just kind of came up with the idea. This was something that sort of tied in with the feats of strength. Thor breaking Eddie's deadlift record, and essentially the guys had that feud going on, right? And we said, well, why don't we make something of this? Why don't you guys settle the feud, and alongside that, everyone's going to make some money. Strongman's going to grow as a sport. There's going to be more eyes on the sport, and you guys are going to settle this feud. So yeah, it was a combination of everyone getting together on it.
So, and this was kind of in the build up to Thor training for his 501, yeah?
Yeah.
That kind of time
Yeah. Because obviously before it was actually meant to be in Bahrain that
Okay.
Thor was meant to do as the world record
Oh,
deadlift.
that's right. Yeah. And then quarantine hit.
Yeah.
And then we had the whole home gym nonsense. But of course, that
Yeah,
added
we
to
had
the whole feud.
exactly. So yeah, it added into the feud and maybe took it to a new level. But hey,
Yeah.
everything happens for a reason, right?
But so both of those guys were pretty quick to jump on board with the idea of the boxing.
Yeah, for
Mhm.
sure. I think that they were at a time in their careers. I know a lot of people said that Thor could have went and done more with his strongman career, but he wanted a change. He wanted to focus more on his health. He's a very family orientated man,
Mhm.
and Eddie as well. Eddie'd retired.
Yeah.
So I think it was a smart decision from both of them, and I think it's something that maybe the fans need to understand, that you can't be at that top level forever. It's a bit like peaking your performance,
Yeah.
unless you're Big C, of course.
Yeah. No one's pretending within the sport even that walking around at 200 kilograms for 40 pounds is a healthy thing to do. It's not, is it? And as you say, Thor kept winning in those last few years. One, he had no more to prove, and two, no other promotions were given the decent prize money anyway. So what was he winning it
Yeah,
for? That's the thing, isn't it?
exactly.
People want them to stay in it. The promotions have to be paying these guys as well. Otherwise, of course, they're going to take other opportunities. So I think it's understandable. And I think that's one thing that people don't realize, that they genuinely don't like each other, do they?
No,
It's
it's
a
genuine,
genuine feud.
genuine. Yeah.
On Thor's 501 deadlift,
Yeah.
who made the decision to go for 501 as opposed to 505, 510? Was that Thor's own decision? Did you guys think that was a better
That
way to do it?
that was Thor's decision. We left everything to Thor. We just set the rules. We said, look, you have 4 rules. You have 15 minutes or 10 minutes in between each lift.
Mhm.
It was like 15 minutes past the hour, 30 minutes past the hour, 45 minutes past the hour. And then if you wanted to go on to 510, which was on the cards,
Yeah.
we would have got that extended. So that would
Okay.
have been extended on ESPN and on the live streams.
Okay, so there was the option for the 510.
It was penciled in, and it was a call on the day. And we
Mm.
left that with Thor. It was none. We just sort of said, look, this is our rules. You do what you want to do. You do your weight increments.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
The way that went, do you believe he had 510 that day? Kind of looked like he had a lot more than 501, yeah?
Yeah. I
But it
think
can suddenly
if
get very heavy, can't it? A few more kilos, suddenly it can change from moving
I think if
quickly
he
to
didn't
not.
do the 501 and he went straight for the 510, he would have got it.
Yeah.
I think it would have been a hard lift, but
Mhm.
I think it was there for sure.
Yeah.
But I think he was smart. He did it, and he stood up from the bar as though he was warming up. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It wasn't like he was.
Yeah, and
lying
you're
on.
right. That's created a lot of the talking point, how much more he had in the tank because of the
Yeah.
way that he did that. And of course, we've just seen Iron Bibby break Eddie's axle by 1 kilogram. People forget that Eddie broke Big Z's axle by 1 kilogram.
Yeah.
So a lot of these things get forgotten over time, or conveniently forgotten, don't they? But actually breaking,
conveniently forgotten or conveniently brought up, whichever way you want to think.
whichever suits.
Yeah.
Yeah. And have you any ideas yet when the rematch does take place, which is loosely scheduled, sort of March, April 2022? Is that likely to be in America again, or no ideas yet?
There's nothing's been finalized. We're looking at all our options. If it's going to be in America, it could potentially be Saudi Arabia. They've been very much interested in it. So yeah, it's kind of up in the air right now. We're really focused on getting Jacksonville done. We'll see how it goes. America's still on the cards, obviously.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Because of that time frame now, we're talking another sort of 5 months, 6 months. Will you try and tie that in with another World's Ultimate Strongman again? Will that be the plan?
Yeah, the aim is to attach a World's Ultimate Strongman on with that. I think going forward, it's definitely going to be a part of that boxing match with Eddie and Thor.
I mean, in actual fact, something that looked terrible at the beginning, if you can get a good opponent now for Thor, and then we're going to have the fight again with Eddie and a Strongman connected to it, it's actually the best possible thing for Strongman.
Yeah, no, for sure. A very fitting opponent, let's say.
Yeah. Okay. And just about yourself, Mark. First of all, can you just talk us through, after finishing school, you joined the Marines, that's right?
Yeah.
And that was at what age?
16. Yeah, I was 16 years old. Yeah.
Which is crazy young to join the Marines, yeah?
Crazy young, yeah. Yeah, a bit. 16 years old, joined there.
And you were in there for how long?
I was in there for 6 years. So during that time, I deployed to Somalia, off the coast of Libya. I qualified as a sort of physical training instructor, and that was kind of where it all started with the whole strongman stuff. So during that time, 6 years I was there.
Yeah, okay. And when you came out, that's when you started competing in strongman?
Yeah, it was not long after I started competing. Yeah.
Had you competed in powerlifting within the forces or not? No?
No, the thing that I did in the forces was, as a physical training instructor, we were responsible for like the troops' fitness, the troops' morale. Obviously, we were a lot fitter than the guys, as we were seen as the sort of role models for the troop.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I always did was like a troop strongest man. I would organize like a morale boosting event where it was on a really small scale, but we would put like 110% effort into like how it looked and presentation wise. So yeah, that was kind of where it all started. Obviously, a lot of the stuff in the commandos, like you're doing tire flips, you're doing jerry can carries, all of it is
strongman, isn't it?
You might not think of it, but it's strongman at a base level. Using the obscure implements like carrying weapons and
yeah, exactly. And maybe that will be one for a future World's Ultimate Strongman.
Maybe
rocket launchers around. Yeah.
Good idea. Barrett 50 cal.
Yeah. Preferably not loaded with a light audience.
So
and then your kind of rise in strongman was pretty meteoric. You obviously had an incredible kind of natural affinity for it, and you broke some big records. You had some monster lifts. We saw a video just the other day of you just about cracking a 900-pound deadlift at 102, 103 kilograms body weight. It's just something you found that came naturally to you, strength like that, or you feel that you were someone that had kind of just around average genetics but was able to push it, or a bit of both? Or
I think I've abnormally been, I don't know whether this is my mental capacity or maybe being a bit wiser about training, but I've always had the capacity to push beyond anyone around me, like from school, from young age, even in the Marines. Obviously, the commandos, it was all about your cardiovascular fitness, muscular endurance. So it's complete opposite to what I'm doing now. So I would say, look, my genetics are average, but my mental capacity is let's say a lot more. I can push a lot more for sure. And I think tying that in with knowledge on how to train.
Do you believe that there's still a lot of progression in strongman in terms of the way the guys train?
Yeah, for sure. The way the guys train, and another big one is the way the guys eat.
Okay.
I think there's too many fat strongmen. Like it's a pet hate of mine. Like these guys are athletes. I don't know it's changing, but I think guys need to sort of stop looking at the guys that are 200 kilos and start looking at the lighter guys. For example, Novikov, he's a great example.
Yeah. How
he's super light. He's an athlete.
Yeah, and he's the form strongman of the last 2 years, basically, isn't he?
And a lot of the guys glorify eating X number of calories and so on and so forth, rather than thinking, right, I need to be eating this quality dense nutrition or these nutrients. And I think I think that's something that's slowly changing, but it definitely is behind the curve a little bit.
Yeah, it makes sense. And of course, we've got Koulibaly coming back as well, and he's another one that is a lot more like an athlete than a strongman. I guess the only thing with that is some of these sort of static lifts, record attempts. Of course, the guys are bulking up for that, and a lot of people kind of focusing on those types of events. Maybe that's why. But I definitely agree with you. I think the future is going to be proper athletes, still huge guys, but maybe closer to the 150 mark than the 200. Yeah.
No, for sure. And even an example, at my heaviest, I was definitely not my strongest. At my lightest, I was my strongest.
It's interesting. I've heard other athletes say that, for example, they couldn't get into the right position in the deadlift and things when they got to a certain size. It was actually better to be a bit smaller. Yeah.
No, for sure.
And funny enough as well, the guys that have carried huge weight for a long time said they feel so much better when they go up and then down and drop that weight off. That feeling in the body, it's almost like tricks the body into feeling lighter than it is. It's kind of an interesting concept. Yeah. And not many guys actually easily carry that huge weight, do they? There's just a few like Big Z who walks around like 160, like it's nothing. He doesn't even necessarily look quite that big. But most guys really struggle, don't they, to hold that sort of weight.
Yeah, and it's not healthy. It's not healthy.
Not at all. And then tell us what you actually won, though, because you won some titles as well. Maybe you're being modest here, but
yeah. So it was around the first year I kind of seriously competed, and I flew back to Scotland. I managed to win Scotland's Strongest Man, which I was super proud of, because the year before I'd invited the winner of Scotland's Strongest Man under 105 to do one of my events. So I watched him compete and stuff, and I was like, he's brilliant. Danny Moore, his name is, and that year I managed to win Scotland's Strongest Man under 105. And then a few months later, obviously I qualified for Britain's, and managed to go. And bear in mind, I was flying back and forth between Dubai and the UK at this point. And I managed to win Britain's Strongest Man under 105, and in the same event. And this was a bit of a trigger point for me in terms of the growth of World's Ultimate Strongman. But I broke the world record deadlift at that event. Now, I kid you not, it was on a piece of grass, 2 planks of wood, and I don't know what the plates were, but it was all like random plates, things hanging off it, and on a stiff bar. It was so wild, and that was a bit of a point for me where I was like, like you train so hard for these events and these competitions, and you go, and it's I mean, it's not a disappointment. The whole experience is you can't compare it to anything that's competing, but like it needed something. It needed a bit of zest to it. So,
100%.
but yeah, that was the sort of competitive career. I sort of did it because this was in the budding stages of World's Ultimate Strongman, and I did it more of to prove or get the respect of the athletes that had actually had some skin in the game, because up until that point I hadn't, and I just trained. I enjoyed it, but it was more of I've put my skin in the game here.
Yeah, you've practiced what you preach, and no one can question that then. And so you moved out to Dubai. I think you had a friend out there working in the gym, running the gym, right?
Yeah.
And then from that, this concept grew of maybe doing your own promotion, or was it going to be a one-off competition, or?
Yeah, it started off as a thing called Emirates Strength. So the whole idea of Emirates Strength, and this is something that I still to this day I take a lot of passion in, is strength sports. So you'll see me I do jiu-jitsu, I do boxing, I do gymnastics, CrossFit, strongman. But it's using the strongman fundamentals or the fundamental movements and incorporating them into like MMA training or gymnastics training, like all the explosive work.
Okay, so that's the principle of this. The strongman is actually functional in multiple sports, yeah, across the board.
Exactly. So that's something that I've always believed in.
Mm-hmm.
And I started Emirates Strength, where the aim was to hold competitions for CrossFit, strongman, boxing, all these things locally, in order to grow the sport. Because at that time, I kid you not, that one Atlas stone, I always remember it. I've still got it. At the time, there was just that. There was no one else knew about it. Everyone was comparing, like, oh, you do bodybuilding. And so, I started Emirates Strength, and I did a few local events at the expos, and then I met Don. And from there, Don and I put our heads together, and we said, right, we can make something of this out here, because it was very niche, and I was the only one doing it at the time. And we sort of put our heads together with one of the expos, and we said, why don't we put a bit of money into this and make a show of it, and we'll invite athletes over. We invited Eddie over to sort of be a part of it and give it a bit more credibility. And yeah, from there, we did the show, and the rest is history.
Yeah, it really is. It's grown very quickly as well, hasn't it? I think from And where did the name World's Ultimate Strongman come from? Because I think it's tricky picking a name for these things.
WUS, yes. Where did it come from? I think it was just something that we sort of seen as the pinnacle. Who wants to be the world's ultimate strongman?
Okay, so it's just something that sounded like it was the best of the best. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, the acronym doesn't quite fit, but I think that's sort of me and Don's sense of humor kicking in.
Yeah, and actually, it's actually, I think, very good, because people will remember it. They talk about it.
Exactly.
I think it's not actually a kind of problem like that at all. And just in terms of sort of future World's Ultimate Strongman events, right now you're doing this format because it's a live stream. That comes with some challenges, I think, such as it probably limits the amount of events you do, the time constraint, because obviously you can't have it dragged out too long. But do you have plans perhaps to change that sometimes into maybe, there's a lot of people speak about maybe a competition where it had 10 events, something like that, a truer test. Do you plan to diversify like that? Because you seem to in so many different areas. Or is the way you have it right now the way you want to continue with?
I think we want to continue in this sort of format where we can control essentially the length of time, and something that's still appealing to the viewer, rather than dragging it out 10 events. Yeah, it might be a truer test, but the entertainment aspect you're going to lose. So yeah, definitely going to keep it on the sort of shorter end of the scale, or the normal end.
Yeah, I think it's fair enough. It's working, and obviously you're doing some slightly different things. Instead of doing like the regular Atlas stones, the 5 stones, you've changed that a bit of last event, things like that. In your opinion, should every event contain some static events and some moving events? Do you have any kind of set rules that you give yourself when you're creating these?
I think for me personally, when I'm doing it, I'm looking at pulling events, pushing events, carrying events, mystery events, and then the hoisting event. It's to try and sort of give that variety within the events.
I mean, the thing that I can say, obviously, I interview different athletes, I chat to them on camera, off camera, and just like in any business, any sport, people have their gripes with this and that, understandably, sometimes rightly, sometimes they're just moaning for the sake of it. But across the board, they only have good things to say about World's Ultimate Strongman. And it's because you guys put the athletes, I think, ahead of yourselves. They get treated kind of nice flights out there to the competition, nice hotels. They've got the option of bringing family members, something I've never had before in the sport. Is that like a conscious decision of you and Don to go that way? And was that to just create a good feeling amongst the athletes, or you felt that there were some benefits as well to the competing side of it with that?
So this is going to take us back a little bit. This is something that we decided, and it takes me back even to that sort of deadlifting scenario where
in the field, yeah.
And it was a discussion we had with Eddie as well. As we obviously knew, we were told that how the athletes were treated were the best way to describe it. A bit like sheep in a pen. They were just told, go here, go there, do this, do that. We wanted to change that, and I think we have done. But from the get-go, we set a standard, and that was something that we want to stick with going forward, and we have done. Because at the end of the day, these guys put everything into it. They put their own finances into it. They put family on hold. They put their health at risk, all to perform for the fans. And I think it's only right that they get treated a certain way. And comparing it with other sports do the same. So why doesn't Strongman not?
And I think it's a virtuous circle because you're treating them that way. Now, look, you have a competition. Mateus has chosen that as his comeback. Big Z has chosen that as his comeback. You've got the top guy out there at the moment, Novikov, coming. You've got JF Caron, Bobby Thompson, the new American log lift holder, all these different things. I think that's what it creates, doesn't it? It creates that goodwill. And it means you have the option of the best athletes.
And we will always look out for the best for the guys. Like in terms of even giving them, when they came to Dubai, we got them side jobs where they could earn money. In terms of like doing commercial shoots and stuff like that. So like whatever we can create for the guys, we'll look out for the best interests.
Yeah, because that's the way for it to grow. And if they can grow their profiles like that, that's how they're going to make money. That's how the sport's going to grow to a wider audience for sure. And you've announced athletes for World's Ultimate Strongman. I think maybe the last announcement was just maybe the day before yesterday. Is that everybody now, or are there any more to come?
There's a few more, but visa dependent. I'll leave that up for discrepancy on who.
Okay. So there could be up to what, 12 athletes in total? Yeah. Okay. So it's going to be 10 to 12, that kind of range. Yeah. Okay. Interesting who the other ones might be.
I'll leave it up for your discrepancies.
There's a lot of people want to be there. And just, you have we spoke about it earlier, how you choose the kind of guys that have done best in the other promotions. Of those, how do you then decide which 10 or 12 of those come to any particular event? How does that work?
So it's not fixed at 10 or 12. We can have up to 20 athletes.
Okay.
It's whoever invites them, whoever accepts invitations.
Okay, so the invitations go out across the board, and
we basically we send out the contracts at the start of the season. It's normally at the start of the year, and whoever comes back and agrees to that season, they are all invited for the shows during that season, and it's up to them if they want to. Okay,
that makes sense. And because people were asking, what about Maxime? And that's why he just came third in World's Strongest Man, but the contracts were long before that. So next year we'll see Maxime.
He's qualified for next year.
Okay, and Brian Shaw is on your roster of invited athletes, but he won't be coming this time, but he did receive an invite.
Yeah, so he received a contract at the start of the year. Unfortunately, we didn't hear anything back from him. So
okay. This is kind of a funny year, isn't it? There's a stacked amount of competitions in the last 6 months of the year. Of course, he has his own now. He'll be tied in with the Rogue Invitational as well. So there's always going to be these things, as with every comp. I think athletes come and go, but we still might see Brian then in the future at your competitions. He's still on the...
Yeah, for sure. He's the door's always open for Brian.
Yeah, well, there we go. People will be pleased to hear that, I think. Yeah, okay. Okay, Mark, I think we've covered most things. As I say, I'm honestly looking forward to this as much as any other competition I've ever been to in all these years. I think you're doing everything right. And I know like I say, behind the scenes, the things all the athletes say about you guys, that you're doing it right. And after the Bahrain event, you guys put a post on Instagram saying, tell us your thoughts. What could we do better? Well, when have we ever had that before in Strongman? Never have we. I think that says it all. People asked for the live stream. People said athletes should get more money, treated better. We should have a change of events, something new. Now we've got it all.
We're always adapting, and we're always open to any criticism, constructive, negative. We'll always adapt, and that's what you'll see from us going forward, is we'll adapt to the situation, and I think we proved that last year.
Absolutely. And I think from this interview today, one of the biggest things that you've said that people will be pleased to hear is you're exploring the options of holding competitions in other countries, in Europe, things like that. That's huge for people, because there's no doubt everybody loves this event, but people want to be able to go to this event as well. So the fact that it's going to be accessible to people in other countries, I think, is for me, like the final tick in the box of what everybody wanted to hear. So that's pretty awesome news, I think. Yeah. Okay, Mark. Well, I think there's no more questions. I think we've covered it. If anybody has any questions, they can write in the comments below on YouTube. I know sometimes even Don gets in the comments and answers some as well.
He absolutely loves it. He's there at 3 a.m. Can't sleep, reading the YouTube comments.
Well, I mean, if anyone asks any questions I'm not sure about, I'll ask you guys and answer it accordingly to make sure we have the right answers. But I think we've covered most things. But yeah, just on behalf of myself, and I think a lot of the fans, just thanks for listening to us and trying to do things that we're asking for you to do in Strongman. And I know the athletes say the same on their behalf too. So just keep it going. I think the future's really bright.
No, thank you very much. And thanks to you as well. You've the effort you put in terms of promotion.
I'm trying. It's all new to the YouTube. But again, people say it's a small sport. I started my YouTube 7 months ago. I've had 7 million views in Strongman. So who says it has to be small? I think it's just people are so used to hearing that they believe it. And that's what I always liked from the beginning. When I saw you guys, you were talking big. And that's what I always believe that we should all do, because it can be a big sport. It is growing. The money's growing thanks to you guys. And that's not just in your promotion. The money started going up in the other promotions because you put the money up. People have to remember these things, the way it works.
Everyone's up in their game. Everyone's up in their game.
100%. Well, I hope you guys keep notching it up. And
don't worry.
I'm excited to see where it goes.
We'll always lead the pack.
Okay, perfect. All right, Mark. Thanks very much. And hopefully we'll have you on again before the next big World's Ultimate Strongman competition.
Yeah, for sure. Cheers, Matt.
Perfect. Cheers, Matt. Bye-bye.
Please subscribe to Matt Rhodes Sport on YouTube. He has lots of strongman information.
Guys, could you please subscribe to Matt Rhodes Sport? A lot of good content.